Matt.
So Matt, was yesterday like a rehearsal for Saturday night, and how did Jordan and Kurt look in running their offenses?
Yeah, no, yesterday was more or less just trying to give some of our veterans a little bit more rest. We're going to go a little bit longer today, so it'll be almost 2 hours of practice, and they're going to get the bulk of the reps. The guys that are going to probably not get as much time or not play at all in the game on Saturday are going to take the majority of the reps today. So, but as far as practice goes, you know, there was some good, some bad. It was a short practice, so there wasn't a ton of reps, you know, to really go off of.
Matt, it's only been a few days, but how does Josiah look to you out there?
Oh, Deguara looks fantastic, and you know, it looks like he picked up right where he left off last season. So it's really good to see him out there. You know, he's just such a savvy, smart football player, and there's so many things he does, and that's tough to coach. Like there was a play, an insert play, where he was in the backfield, and basically the defense switched the front on us, and typically you go through the weak side A gap. Well, the weak side A gap was closed, and he was able to maneuver around, weave through traffic, and get the backer on that weak side. And a lot of guys can't do that.
Was it just going to be too much rest for the veterans if they took that rest day today? Was that why it was yesterday instead of today? Or?
Well, it was more or less just kind of, you're still trying to get everybody prepared. So we wanted the guys that were going to play more in the game on Saturday to get a little bit more work yesterday, and then lessen their volume today so they can recover for the game. And conversely, the guys that aren't going to be playing, there's going to be a long stretch where we have multiple days off, so you'd like them to kind of get their volume in today. So it's you're kind of juggling the roster a little bit.
Man, I'm just curious, how different does a play calling sheet look in a preseason opener versus a regular season game?
Just depends. I would say there's not a lot of game planning going on in terms of you're just running your kind of foundation concepts, your day one install, and the guy, you know, you want to see guys go out there and be able to play fast and execute. And so you know, because you don't really necessarily know exactly what you're going to get from either side of the ball. So you just got to have things that the guys are familiar with that they can go execute regardless of whatever look they may see.
Hey Matt, at some point do you want Jordan to work against cards, prepare like it's almost like a regular season game, watch a lot of film, whatever? Is there one of those games you're going to do that? Or?
Yeah, you know, absolutely. And typically in the past, I'd say when there were 4 preseason games, we would treat that third preseason like that. You know, I wouldn't say that we're not going to do any cards. I mean, shoot, we know who the coordinators are down in Houston, Lovie Smith, and then Tim Kelly, who was there last year. So we have an idea of what they may do. So there is a little bit of card work, but the majority of that is done in our walkthroughs. So this evening we'll have a walkthrough geared towards that first preseason game, and then as well as tomorrow.
Matt, you mentioned that you don't game plan preseason games, and that's pretty standard around the league, but are you tempted to a little bit as far as maybe scheming some things up to give Jordan some easy throws to get him going early on? It's going to be a highly scrutinized debut for the young man.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're always still trying to put our guys in a great position to go out there. You want them to be successful. But at the same time, I know that there's that balance of, you know, trying to get too cute or whatever in terms of what we're going to throw out there. But certainly I feel like there's enough all-purpose plays within our plan that we feel good about that he can go out there and execute at a high level.
This having only 3 preseason games rather than 4, how is that impacting how y'all are attacking each preseason game? And does it impact how you may or may not use starters over the course of these 3 games?
Yeah, I think it's more or less just kind of trying to gauge where we are as a football team, who needs the reps. Certainly, who we need to evaluate further. And the guys that we have, that have played in this league a long time, you've got a pretty good idea of what they can bring to the table. And we also know that some of those guys, you don't want to subject them to any more risk in the preseason. So I think there's constant conversation going on in terms of what exactly we're trying to get out of each game and who we need to see and who we need to put in certain positions to get a great evaluation.
The way you were able to go into the season last year, no preseason games in this coach, did that impact your thinking at all in terms of how much you want or need to use starters in the preseason?
Yeah, I think absolutely it did. We know that we can still simulate some really good work, and whether it's situationally or however we want to do it in practice. But then again, there is no substitute for live action, and that's part of the reason I like practicing against other teams. It gives the guys a different look. The intensity level naturally goes up quite a bit, but it's a more controlled environment where hopefully you mitigate risks or injury risks for a lot of our key players.
Oren said yesterday that he really wants to see the culture change on special teams as a leader of that group. How do you do that? I know we asked you about special teams yesterday. You said you wanted to shed blocks and fly to the football, but that's what you want to do every year. How do you change the culture on special teams?
I think it has to be stressed every day, and we always talk about it, and that's how we start every meeting, is showing a clip or two or three or whatever from practice and how it correlates to the game. And I think Mo is a big part of that in terms of just what he brings to the table, the energy and passion, and Renee and Connor as well. And so it's certainly, it is a big part of it. And if you want to be one of the elite teams in this league, I think your special teams have to play a big part in that.
Some players practice really well and play really well. Others show up more so when the lights are on. In your experience, how often have you seen a guy who really stands out in preseason games, who day-to-day in practice may not, and how much do you weigh what he does when the lights are on versus practice?
Yeah, I think that happens probably every year when we have preseason. Certainly there's going to be some unexpected pleasant surprises, and that's what we're looking for as a staff. Just guys that might not get as many opportunities in practice and then they go out there in the game and they show some great flashes, then that's going to lead to more opportunity in the coming weeks. So we're definitely excited about just going to watch these guys go out there and compete.
Yeah, what are you looking for on Saturday with Patrick Taylor in terms of, the guy hasn't carried the ball for quite a while, and in live action, what do you want to see from him?
I want to see a guy that can go out there and execute on every play in our run scheme, being able to make the one-cut runs in our zone scheme, and certainly in pass protection, how he shows up in pass protection, I think. And he's also got to contribute on special teams as well. So, I think Patrick's done a really good job. I think one thing that it'll be interesting to see is how he lowers his pads on contact. He is a big guy. And so when you're in those live situations, can he lower his pad level and deliver a blow?
How unique was your Chris Barnes situation last year? He's a guy who obviously was kind of kept under wraps without preseason games, and then you cut at the end of the camp, but were able to get back and you started week 1. With preseason games, I'm assuming that type of thing would be possible because other teams would have tape on these guys and might not be able to sneak them back.
Yeah, I think you're always trying to be conscious of that. I do think that when it is a little bit more difficult to nab guys off other teams when you don't maybe know when there's not a lot of footage out there, specifically younger players or rookies. But that was, I guess, for us, we were fortunate in that instance.
All right, we're going to go to Zoom. Sarah, go ahead.
Yep, just wanted to hear Bill Huber. Morning, Matt. Getting back to the special teams, are you more open to using starters this year just to get that turned around? Because this obviously predates you by a long time that the special teams here have been pretty bad. Are you more open to using those key players to get that ship righted?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, whatever gives us the best opportunity to win games, and so there are some key players on our in both phases on offense and defense that we know that have a history with special teams that definitely can contribute, and if that's what we need, then that's what we'll do. And it would probably be more of a spot play type mentality, but certainly we know how valuable each game is in this league, and so you never want to take anything for granted. And I know, especially with our coverage units, we had a little bit of issue last year, giving up too many big plays. So that's something we definitely are conscious of, and we got to make sure that we're doing whatever it is to eliminate those big plays.